Hello and welcome to Tempo Check, baby. I'm your host, Cathryn Niker.
And I'm your other host, Freddie Rivas. What's up? What's good? We're having fun here. We're going to do a very, very special episode. Friends, lovers, enemies, in betweens, support us on our social media climb. Our goal is to be bigger than Joe Rogan. Unrealistic
I
goal,
thought
some
I
people
thought you
say.
were gonna say bigger than we are. And then
Yeah, I mean that is actually the real goal. But at the Pickup WNBA podcast, and that's where you're going to find us, of course, because that's our main or OG pod. But we're doing the tempo there as well, right? So find us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Follow, subscribe, and we always say like review all that kind of stuff, but basically just like shout us out to your people if you're digging what we're doing, because that really is where things kind of where the needle gets moved, and it's already happening. So if you're doing that, thanks. If you're not doing it, do what feels right.
Oh, that was actually very nice at the end there. Not that it isn't typically, but you got a little sentimental a bit.
I'll do it. I'll get sentimental.
Uh
Don't make me bring in clown logic.
Wow, all right. Okay, so we've got some big stuff to talk about. Friday, April 3rd, Good Friday is
It is.
officially
It's gonna be a good Friday.
it's going to be a Good Friday is officially the expansion draft date. This team is finally going to have players on its roster. Huge, huge, huge. Um Maybe we should start with this news, Freddie, is that we have officially, drum roll. Can you do a drum roll? I'm just throwing this on you. Oh, we officially have media credentials to cover this expansion draft. Yay!
Yay!
So
Bum
we'll
bum
be there.
bum.
We're gonna be
Yes.
there. We're gonna be there. And that's really exciting for us. Thank you for everyone who has supported this show to give us that opportunity. So we're really
Hmm.
excited to be there, to attend the expansion draft. This podcast today is sort of to break down the rules of this expansion draft, because this is sort of new territory for the W, to have two teams entering the league this year. A lot of rules, a lot of nuances, but also a lot of really exciting stuff too. So let's start there. So um, two teams, Toronto Tempo, Portland Fire, both entering the league this year. We've got we had a coin toss between the two teams, and based on that coin toss, Toronto won the coin toss. They were given a choice whether to draft first in the expansion draft or to draft first in the regular college draft, which is happening later in April. Between the two teams. So not first pick, but first between the two teams. And they chose to pick first in the college draft. So Portland's going to draft first on Friday in expansion, then the tempo. How it works is this: each existing WNBA team is allowed to quote core five of their best players, or five of the players that they want to keep. What that means is when a player is cored, that means they are uneligible to be drafted in this expansion draft. So every team picks their best five that they for sure don't want to go. And then everyone else is essentially fair game. Now,
Wait, can I just jump in
yeah,
here with one thing?
yeah.
For folks who followed along with the Golden State expansion team,
Mhm.
the league at that time was able to core 6 players. So
Mhm.
obviously it's going to be one less player
Because there's two teams this
because there's
time.
2 teams, and we talked about this from the tempo perspective. It's always been a bit like, ah, crap that we have to come in at the same time as another team. But whatever, it's a historic thing. It's cool. It's going to be amazing. But we are, we are having to compete with Portland in this process.
Right. So, to continue, uh, each team is allowed to pick up to 2 players from each team. So no more than 2 players from a team can be part of the expansion draft. In addition to this, now here's the real interesting, unique wrinkle to this
Yes.
expansion draft is that each team is allowed to pick 1 unrestricted free agent. And as many of us know, or if you're new to the league, welcome. 80% of this league is a free agent because we knew we were embarking on a landmark CBA deal. So, how that's gonna all shake out, we will see. To be clear, now, if one of these teams picks an unrestricted free agent, they are still technically a free agent. They do not have to stay with the team. So it is a bit of a risk, but they will be able to offer them a supermax contract first. So it's not like they're gonna pick, Asia Wilson. Like Asia Wilson isn't going anywhere, right? But there are top players in this league who are projected to leave their current team, and they could easily become the face of the Toronto Tempo or the Portland Fire. Um, I've said a lot. I could say more, but Freddie, feel free to jump in.
I just want to say hat tip to Cathryn because before recording this pod, I was like, Cathryn, we gotta go over this shit because like
It's a lot.
there's a lot of stuff here and there's a lot of detail and it's gonna get wild and we want to give our tempo listeners like a at least like an idea of what's about to go down. I mean, I will say like the weekend is going to come and go and we are going to have a team and then that's
Mhm.
really all that's going to matter. But I feel like for the people who are like wanting to kind of game this out, strategize this out, watch along and have some idea of like what strategy is at play, I think they're going to want to have the details right. And so Cathryn was like, What about this explanation?" And she gave me the explanation you just heard, which is pretty damn comprehensive. So
Thank
shout out to you,
you.
Cathryn. Big shout out. Um, I don't want to stray too far here, but I think just sticking with the unrestricted free agent part of this,
Mhm.
uh, to Catherine's point about Asia, just eliminate all the like, essentially MVP top tier candidates from your head, right? That those people aren't really going to be available because they're in a situation where they're going to get the supermax and they're already very comfortable. I
Yeah,
think
they're already very comfortable with their teams and have
yeah.
expressed interest in staying where they are.
I think where things could get really, really interesting is if Portland or Toronto decide to go after someone who they don't think is going to stay with them, but to go after them and select them for the sake of having their negotiating rights. Because in theory, Toronto or Portland could go after a player. I'm just going to throw this out there. A player like Jackie Young, who probably has no intention of signing anywhere else other than the Aces, and they could say, Jackie, we're going to sign you to a supermax, so we can do a sign and trade with the Aces if you want the most amount of money possible. You know what I mean? Like they could do
Mhm.
something really sort of they could do something like that. I hazard a guess that they don't want to get in the mud right away. So Portland or Toronto are probably going to target a player who they assume will want to will want to play for them and take that big payday and be their day one franchise player. I don't think they want to sign a player then to trade them or something funky like that, you know?
Yeah, I agree with the latter. I think, like, examples that we were talking about that could be a part of this expansion draft that are like marquee free agents worthy of a supermax contract. You know, we're really looking at like Kalia Copper, Arike Gumbawale. Um, uh, I think this is also kind of interesting from like an age perspective. Kalia Copper's 31, Arika Gumbawale's 29. You don't typically think of expansion teams in that age range. You know, you typically think like you're going to be super young, but because of the dynamic we're dealing with, it'll be really interesting to see strategically where age wise they choose to aim. I also think strategically, this is like a bit of a theory that's been put out here that I've read online that I think could be true, is that because Portland has the first pick, they could pick their unrestricted free agent first.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, okay, like we only get to do this once. You're only going to have one shot at somebody like Kalia Copper, for example. You got to go for it. But because you can only pick one, and let's say they do that first, well, now that gives the tempo some time. They don't have to pick their unrestricted free agent second. They can start to actually map out their roster as the expansion draft goes on and then see which unrestricted free agent they want to go for based on who else they've been able to pick, which is like a really interesting, unique advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really, there's a lot of
Which is
angles here.
probably the most significant part of that coin toss when you really
It
think
is.
about it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of ways to look at that coin toss too, and like the ripple effects. And again, things are going to happen so fast that it'll be hard to disseminate. Cathryn, are you okay if I touch on the trade?
Oh yeah, of course.
Right. Okay. So here's another wrinkle. So so by the way, historic day. The Tempo have made their first trade
First trade.
with the Chicago Sky. To kind of like complicate things, the Chicago Sky have made an almost identical trade with the Portland Fire. So clearly, the
Yeah,
Chicago
like don't
Sky,
take our people. That's so
yeah, the
funny.
Chicago Sky is like, we're one of those teams where we don't have a bunch of UFAs, unrestricted free agents. We have a bunch of younger talent that we can't be, we can't like, we don't want to core. Like they're in a situation where they're like, we don't want to lose Cardoso, we don't want to lose Reese, we don't want to lose Haley Van Lith, Maddie Westbeld, you know, Elizabeth Williams, like whoever it is, they're in that territory where clearly they're that number 5 is like they think that they have 7 players who are currently in their zone that they want to hold on to, and they're a rebuilding team. So that makes sense for them to say like, we're already rebuilding. We don't want these new teams like plucking from us.
Yeah, and sorry, so just to be clear, what the trade is that the Chicago Sky has given up a second round draft pick
Yes.
to the Tempo in exchange for not drafting any of their players in the expansion draft.
Mm-hmm.
So just so we know what that trade-off is. And you're right, I do think that was a really smart move from Chicago. Frankly, if you're new, it's rare to see Chicago making smart moves.
It really is. Hey, they're getting a new
So
facility.
they have a new facility. It's a new day for Chicago Sky fans, truly. So that's
Also,
exciting.
if you you know, just for Tempo fans who might be unfamiliar with how the WNBA draft goes, there's 3 rounds. In the past, you know, once you get to the second round,
This
a
is the
lot of
regular draft, though. You're
this
not
is the
talking about
regular college draft.
yeah, you're not talking about the expansion.
And that kind of yeah, that there's 3 rounds, and a lot of those players don't make it to the WNBA. Like all the players in the expansion draft are like, those are bona fide players who like will be on the team. Look at Golden State last year. They had a really awesome run because they selected a bunch of talented players. But the reason I bring up the college draft, the regular draft, is because now the Tempo has the 6th overall pick the 22nd overall pick, which will be in the second round, the 26th overall pick, and then the third round, the 36th overall pick, which is probably like a stash style player that won't play. But the 22nd and the 26th pick is not insignificant. Those could be bundled. Those could be, you could trade down. Who knows? But that's leverage, and I think having an extra pick in the second round is significant, especially for this current season where this current free agency where like so much is going to be up in the air. Just having players in your control will be big.
Yeah, and I know we're throwing a lot of information at people,
But there's a lot.
that might be a bit confusing. I hope we haven't made any of it more confusing. Um, but I think what I would say is tune in. I think you're going to learn a lot by just watching it unfold. And of course, we're going to be here to recap it, to talk about who's on the team, to celebrate, these really cool players that are going to finally be on our roster, and then we'll be able to look towards like who might be our pick in the college draft. So just
Mhm.
sort of people see the order of events with the tempo here, but very exciting times. Freddie, do you have anything else to add about the expansion draft?
I don't. It's awesome and it's exciting, and I think it's good that we're getting familiar now, like Tempo fans, because the WNBA is going to be in a state of constant expansion over the next couple of years. So I
Yes.
think this, as much as as much as this is extra wild because of free agency, like that's not going to be the case in future years. But this idea of having a roster where you constantly have to think about the roster as like who are your 5 or 6 players that you don't want to that you want to core. Like every team has to think like that now.
Yeah. Let's move on and talk a little bit about Masai Ujiri.
Masai Ujiri.
He's back, baby. He's
We will
back.
win in Toronto.
As a principal owner of the team, he joins the ownership group of the Toronto Tempo. Um, this is really exciting and fun for, if you're a Torontonian for obvious reasons. We do have a lot of international listeners, so I will break down some of this. Masai Ujiri was the president of the Toronto Raptors for a very long time. He brought us the 2019 championship. He was let go from the Raptors recently to not positive fan reaction. We all love him here. He's kind of a local legend, I would say. And it's great to see him back in Toronto with the tempo. He is an extraordinary leader. And when the Raptors won, he had this awful like police incident where he wasn't allowed on the court immediately. A police officer shoved him. The police officer had the audacity to sue Masai, saying that he was the aggressor, but there's camera footage and clearly the police officer was the aggressor. And, it really tainted this experience of winning a championship. And Masai has talked about very candidly, I feel, about how he really wants to win again so he can experience winning with pure joy without all of this other awful stuff that he had to go through. So it kind of makes me a little emotional to see him back here and that he could win again here in Toronto. Um and I think we will because we have the right people in place and we have people who are not, they're not risk adverse, they're not afraid, they're being bold. We talked, months ago about how they went after Sandy Brondello, who's one of the great coaches in this league. And I just feel like, I mean, I felt great about the tempo before, and now I just feel even better, just elated.
Yeah, anyone that knows anything about me and my basketball opinions, Masai is like I'm such a Masai stan in so many ways. Like I really think like as a GM batting 25% is fantastic, and I think that he batted like 30 or 40% throughout his like
Mhm.
entire career, and obviously he made mistakes, but I think his hits were so big, the
I would
chances he
say
took.
he batted higher than that, like, he has a majority success rate than not, I would say.
Yeah, exactly, like, most of the seasons are winning seasons, like, a lot of 50-win seasons, and which is, I don't know what the equivalent of that would be in the W, but, like, essentially, you're winning, like, close to 60% of your games. But I think for me, it's the message that he sort of gives off, which is he came to Toronto and he sort of looked around at the constantly apologetic, insecure, inferiority complex shit we have going down here, and he
Mhm,
just said,
mhm.
like, "Why are you all like this? Like, you should be more confident. We can win here. The city's great. Please stop apologizing for being like the big dog in Canada, and please stop feeling inferior to the United States. Like,
Mhm.
you are a world-class place, and you should be proud, you should be excited." So taking that energy to the tempo, and obviously he's worked with Teresa, he's worked with Larry. He is so well positioned to kind of like lubricate this franchise in all of the best ways. So very, very, very exciting news. And it yeah, it's going to directly correlate to winning.
Yeah, honestly, highlight of my day.
Yeah, he's great. Besides back,
Um,
baby.
Masai's back, baby! Yeah, I wonder if we'll see him on, Friday.
I hope we
We
do.
might. We might be in the presence of greatness, who knows? Um, Freddie, I think are we wrapping it up here?
We're wrapping it up. Yeah, very, very, very exciting weekend coming up. Everyone enjoy this once in a franchise moment that's about to happen with the expansion franchise. We get a whole year of firsts. It's gonna be cool. First bucket, first
First
whatever
team,
standing
first
O,
all of
first
it. Yeah.
exactly. So like
Yeah.
everything is just so novel and it's fun. Enjoy it.
Yeah. Thank you again, everyone, for listening and tuning in and all that good stuff. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell your friends, tempo check. We're here. Very exciting times, and we'll catch you next time.
Catch you next time. Peace, everybody.
Bye.